Have you ever seen a Fox body with 32,000 kilometers on it? I hadn't before either, and I'd never seen one that is spelled D-E-C-H, and you pronounce it Detch, not Desh. We're learning all kinds of new things here today on the channel, so let's go ahead and get into it. Hello, and welcome to Gearhead 704. I'm Matt, and guys, we have a very unique review feature today. We are looking at a 1993 Detch Coupe that has actually less than, or right around 20,000 miles. You may have seen this car on the internet before because it is owned by Chris from the Infamous Project. Welcome back to the channel, Chris.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you, great to have you. And I finally got to ride in this thing. We've been hanging out kind of all week for Foxtoberfest, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I finally got to ride it. I forgot. I did pull it into my garage, but I finally got to go more than like half a mile with it. And yeah, this is like the last day of Foxtoberfest. You're getting ready to roll out of town, right? Because you're no longer in Canada.
No more Canada. So this is the big south of the border trip. The car was already down here, as we know. So it was just a matter of getting myself down here.
Yeah.
And much like the snowbirds that we saw flying over at the show, well, I'm one of them. So you're gonna see me down here well into 2022.
Cool, awesome. Going to be in Texas, and that's where this car was, right? It was in Texas.
That's correct.
There's a big story behind this car, but let's kind of start out. When did you pick it up?
Probably 6 years ago. So we all forget about 2020, so maybe
that doesn't count.
7, yeah. So definitely 6 years.
Okay, and when you got it, again, it was low mileage, but was it look like this at all, or?
No. It actually was featured in, I think it was a Muscle Mustangs and Fast Forward magazine back in like 1994. But it didn't have the body kit. It actually had like the Dugan Racing catalog. So it has the Cobra Grill inserts, actually Dugan Racing.
Okay.
It had the Dugan Racing hood on it, which I wasn't a fan.
Okay, that's like, this is a stock hood now, yeah.
He had the original hood. It had Dugan Racing wing on the back, like an anniversary style one. So the car, needless to say, didn't look anything like this. And there was a few little things, like this was painted silver body color. The trim between the taillights, that was painted silver.
Huh.
So like,
that's unusual.
Yeah, and funny enough, he never finished his 5-bolt conversion. So it was sitting on generic, like old 5-bolt 16-inch wheels. Like the car actually didn't look that good,
yeah.
But the paint definitely did, and the interior did because it was so low mileage.
Yeah, and what is this paint actually? What's the color? It's original paint, right?
Yeah, so this is the YN silver, which is super rare. So
YN. You know what I thought you said earlier? I thought he said Hawaiian. I'm like, I've never heard of Hawaiian.
Yeah, it's tropical.
YN silver. Okay. Yep. Now the headlights, was that your ad as well, or?
It was.
Is that a Detch thing, or is that a Chris tip?
No, that's a Chris thing. So the name of the car is actually TIP Deche Coupe, because I was trying to create something that blended both styles and performance together when I was building this car. So
let's talk about that for a minute. Before we get into actually the car itself and all the mods, let's talk a little bit about Detch for those that may have never heard of it. We don't have to go in the full story, but what is that all about?
The Cole's Notes version.
Cole's Notes, did you say? We call it Cliff's Notes down here.
Cliff's Notes.
Okay. Well, I thought maybe there was a Canadian thing.
Yeah, no, so Detch Motorsport was kind of the Canadian Saleen. It was founded by a gentleman out of Jamaica who had since migrated to Canada, and him and his son did all of the R&D on all of the parts that they made. So they focused on suspension, braking, aerodynamics, so all of the body kit pieces. You know, when you guys are like, oh, don't put body kits on. Well, these are actually wind tunnel tested.
That's amazing. Yeah, so this entire kit, like the bumper and the side skirts, they're Detch.
Exactly. And, you know, a lot of people haven't seen a Detch kit before. And for those who like it, they love it because they realize, or they see how sleek it is. And I think they're on my side with that. It's just little things like all of this is all incorporated into the factory body lines of the car. Right, so all your fender wells, like if you put this on a Capri, it wouldn't look right because it doesn't have these.
It's meant for the meant for the Mustang platform. Other than the body kit, well, we've got bumpers, right, front and rear. Yep. This too, right? That's not a Chris touch. That's a tip touch.
No, that's all down underneath the car. I got the Detch G-load brace, very common nowadays between many suppliers, but that's on there. The car also has what is known as the ASG, so the Advanced Suspension Geometry, which is like a Watts link setup in the rear.
To rear, right?
Yep, to help out with handling. So that's all bolted in through the rear axle. It has grabbers, which actually relocate the lower control arms down a little bit and help with your pinion angle. So the only thing that's kind of, I guess, working against what all Detch does is the air rides. setup,
Yeah.
right? So
yeah, that's
so
definitely.
that's me.
Yeah, if you guys saw, you know what? Actually, I got a little cinematic of the car, so that's a good time to put this in and watch real closely. You can see the car. It doesn't, in case you don't know, this is not how it rides around. He would have not made it in my neighborhood. So anyway, take a look at that, and yeah, let's see how the air ride works there. But yeah, so that air ride is very cool. I actually got controls for that. Why don't we go ahead and show them that? We hadn't shown the interior yet anyway, which you can tell by these quarter windows how low mileage is. These are gorgeous. FMR would approve of those, by the way.
Yeah, a little dirty on the carpet, but that's because I've been driving.
Yeah, you've actually been driving the last few days.
Yeah, so
were the Recaros, by the way, were they dead?
No, they
okay.
were. Actually, no, sorry, I take that back. So Detch did have Recaro options. And you can see the Detch Nylotron shifter knob.
Actually, I know it fit in this car because I moved it, but this is particular Detch knob, right?
Yep.
I said Detch again. I don't know where Detch.
I did a set of one-off gauges. We don't have a white face, you know, we don't have some other crazy thing. I wanted something nice and clean and simple. Camera will bring it in. I actually have blue, like a light blue.
Nice.
LED light.
We love light blue here on this channel, so that's an excellent choice.
Tar heel blue light.
There you go. Now he's getting it. Now he's getting it. And then the controls are, well, you know, before we go to the controls, I do want to show him the air ride, but you mentioned Derek. That's Derek right there.
That is him.
So he actually signed this car.
He signed the car. So that was like sealing the deal, because this build was kind of very unique in that sense, because this is like my tribute car to Detch. So to have him sign it was, I don't know what the word would be.
I think it was very special for one thing.
It was special.
Yeah, but I know I know it's more than that.
Yeah, no,
but
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's very cool. And then for those of you guys that don't know, he's actually no longer with us, right? It was very cool that he got to sign this car, and I believe you can check out Chris's channel. He signed another car as well, Detch number 5, right?
That's correct. And he actually saw my strawberry car. So,
okay.
You know, I've managed to fit in as much time with him as I could, absorb his knowledge.
That's really cool.
And just pick his brain on things.
Yeah.
Because he was a very interesting guy. Anyone who's ever met him, and if you see that one snippet, even when he was signing my dashes at that one car show, and I asked him, I'm like, is there anything you want to say about Dutch Motorsport? He's like, you can tell him I'm not dead yet. Because everyone thought he was dead for like a decade. So, yeah. With all his health...
survived a brain aneurysm and all kinds of stuff.
Absolutely.
I like that, actually.
Yeah.
I might have to start stealing that line. That's pretty cool. Anyway, under the center console is the air ride stuff, right? Oh, here's all the buttons.
So each wheel is independent, right?
Okay.
And then there's 2 needles per gauge. So one would represent, you know, you got front, left, right, and then you have rear, left, right.
Very cool. Now that, again, that was Chris's touch. Let me get out of here. Oh, okay.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
All right. So that is very cool. Very clean interior. I mean, look, the mat pockets say it all. Right there, they're not saggy.
I didn't even have to fix these ones.
That's what I was gonna ask. Everybody knows you usually fix it. So yeah, this is like, you don't have to fix these, which is crazy. Brake wise, 5-lug wise, was that a Detch thing at all?
So Detch actually never converted to 5-lug. They actually always maintained a 4-lug setup. So in the earlier days, they had a Brembo option, and then they had a Willwood option. Both of them very aggressive. You know, in the fronts, my Detch number 5 car has a Willwood setup. You know, with the full hubs and floating rotor and everything, which was kind of a big deal back in the late 80s.
Yeah, actually, we should mention that real quick, guys. He was building his cars. When was the first one built?
I think from 86.
Okay, so close to when SALEEN was doing it.
Yeah, exactly, like hand in hand.
Yeah, and so, I mean, this car back in the 93, you could have got one very similar, and he was beating Porsches basically, right?
Yeah, no, they did very, very well. And Detch and SALEEN, Derek and Steve,
yeah,
they knew one another, and they would help each other out at times on the racetrack. In fact, before Detch introduced their body kit, they used the SALEEN kits. So
nice.
Very early on, the original Detch cars, including my Detch number 5 car, actually had a SALEEN kit to start. Yeah.
And then they wind tested these and started throwing these on, and I gotta say, they're gonna hate me. They're gonna hate me, but I think the Detch body kit looks better than the SALEEN kit, in my opinion.
I think it's the lines, right? I
Yep.
think the SALEEN kit looks great on a 4i because of the sharper edges.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, sometimes people don't understand what makes, they're just like, something looks different about that car. And it's just like factory paint when you have nice crisp body lines versus maybe when they've been rounded out a bit and you don't see, it's like you can tell something looks different and better. But again, I've loved this kit since before I could even own a Fox. You know, I was just like, I want one of those.
Yeah, it was a thing in Canada. So
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, he's winning me over, guys. But yeah, so the brakes on this one.
The original owner had an SSBC kit on the car, and it was the original four lug upgrade brake kit. So it had disc in the rear, but I wanted something bigger just because obviously the way that the ROH wheels here are designed, there's a lot of room. So I actually went with the biggest SSB kit that you could get at the time. And I kind of lucked out because SSBC kind of went missing
Yeah.
in action for about a year and a half. I believe they're up and running again under new ownership. So the kit, you can see I forget how big the rotors are on the back, but it's actually a pretty big kit for
It's
the
like
back.
you own 30 Fox bodies.
Yeah, I know.
I keep telling him that, but he won't admit to it, but it's pretty close. But okay, so it was already rear disc though.
It was
okay.
just upgraded. I actually had to swap the axles out to go back to stock track width so I could go with the 10-inch rears and get everything to fit the way that I wanted it to.
Well, yeah, it turns out great. I actually didn't ask you that. You had it about 6 years, but how long did it take to build it to this?
I was actually living overseas still. So when I got the car, I bought this completely sight unseen. So, you know, it was just one of those guys that I bought it from that was so open, so honest, sent me every single last picture that I wanted. I can show you the only flaw that was on the car when I bought it. That was from that cover on the light in his garage.
All right, well, now that they mentioned it, we got to see it.
We got to show it up. It's perfect, right? So right here we can see, you know, there's a little crack / scuff in the paint.
There we go.
It
You know
was
what?
a dent. Paintless did a good job getting the dent
It
out.
looks like the beginning of a hashtag. You just need to scrape it in the rest
Yeah,
of
I'll
the
just
hashtag.
I'll carve in, you know, the infamous project.
Yeah, or that would be, yeah, that'd be a little longer. I was gonna say 4 letters instead of 27, whatever you have going on there.
So yeah, it took the better part of, because I think I bought it in the summer, and then I came to visit in the winter, and the car was already at my friend's storage. So I only even just saw the car, and again, it didn't look really good. It was on rollers, for the most part. So the next year when I came, I started going on it, but it took probably about 2 seasons overall between trying to put some stuff on. I drove it the first season on the original brake setup, converted everything the next year, and then added the air ride and all that.
Okay, yeah. 2 years isn't really too bad. I mean, yeah, I'm sure you could have built it quicker, but since this was your car and not a customer car,
yeah, and you're overseas trying to manage and work with people that you trust. Actually, the individual that you would see in some of my videos up in Canada, it was actually him, Dale at Heritage Customs, that helped me out. And obviously we're quite close since I've been working up there out of his shop and everything else. So yeah.
Okay. And actually, I wanted to ask that. So in case you guys don't know, Chris isn't just a YouTuber. He obviously has a channel. Go check it out if you haven't. But you do have a business as well with Fox Bodies, right? You're continuing that in Texas now, though, right?
That's
or
the
what
plan.
Okay.
That is the plan. I got a lot of my own stuff that I need to kind of get through. But the plan is to be able to set up shop down here and then be able to provide some services for as far as I can extend myself.
Yeah.
It has been a little overwhelming the past year and a half since I've been back.
I bet. Yeah, you've been putting in a lot of work.
Yeah.
Well, and last thing here on the exterior, then we'll switch to the engine. These exhaust tips, were they a Detch thing?
No, so funny enough, they weren't, and I was looking for something that kind of fit the holes a little bit better, and these are a Borla tip.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that
Borla
I found and I put on here. They're gonna end up getting changed, and you know, every time I went to SEMA, I was trying to find a company that could maybe manufacture me some tips to fit. You know, kind of like, you know, the new Range Rovers and everything else. They're almost like nice and flush and tucked in there. I actually found a vehicle from sort of back in the day that has a tip, believe it or not, that follows that weird angle.
Really?
Yeah. So needless to say, yeah.
Is that coming to the channel?
It'll be coming to the channel.
Okay.
And actually, the first car they'll be going on is the number 5 restoration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool, because I actually thought this fit pretty well, but yeah, I guess there's a little bit of gap, and you're gonna fill that up probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Very cool. All right, well, let's go ahead and get underneath the hood.
All right. So everyone's probably gonna ask about the headlights, right?
Yeah.
So the headlights are just your 5.0 Resto LMR, you know, diamond clear light. I painted them with clear coat that I poured some blue paint into.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's literally, so if anybody knows the aftermarket headlights, for the most part, if you don't take care of them, they go yellow. They don't necessarily last very long.
Yep.
If you clear coat them, they're gonna last. So that is a little tip for you guys. In this case, I just
It's a little,
little tip. So that's a little trick, you know?
Like
you can do the same thing with your taillights, right? Like if you put a little bit of black in the clear, then you can tint or smoke them out. So throwback.
Yes, I see a few things already, but very clean. Oh, one thing I never noticed. Check this out. You've actually got, that's your badge. What is that?
That's my badge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything that I do, what I guess would classify as enough personalization. Yeah. So I've gotten away from the word customized or built or any of those because I do feel like I like to personalize cars all around.
I like that because it's about the connection.
Yeah.
So you're making a personal connection with the vehicle.
And it's a reflection of somebody's individuality, right?
Yep.
So yeah, so any car that I feel like I've done enough on, yeah, would end up with that plaque.
Very cool.
So she's a little filthy.
Because you've been driving her, Chris.
Because I've been driving it. It is the original long block, well, short block actually, I should say.
Never been into stock bottom end, all that?
Stock bottom end. It's got just very old school Ford performance parts on there, so it's an old... Yeah, check.
Like mass air induction Venturi design, but it has Ford on it. I've never seen one of these. That's
so,
wild.
You know, you got that. You got underdrive pulleys. I believe they're an old X head. I forget.
GT40. It's GT40X, I think.
GT40X is, yeah, with 1.7s and an old comps cam. I don't know the specs on it, but it sounds good.
It does.
Yeah, the original GT40 intake.
That's my favorite intake manifold as far as looks.
Yeah, and that's the one when Yamaha was making them, I understand.
Okay.
They were the ones back in the day.
And it even has the plaque, which I pointed out.
Yep.
And that's so rare now. Most people threw it off. Took it off.
Yeah, upgraded injectors and MAF and all that stuff. The owner did actually bring this car to the track back in the day. You know, it wasn't very often, as you can see with the mileage, but it actually does still have his line lock set up on it. If I feel like doing a big burnout, no problem.
Yeah, well, don't do it here. Don't do it here where I normally film. They're gonna get me in trouble.
Yeah, it terrorizes other neighborhoods, not your own.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
See the strut tower brace here now. Was that included in the Detch kits?
They did the G-Load brace. So interestingly enough...
Oh, okay. I assumed G-Load was K-member, so I didn't realize.
Yeah, so G-Load's the one underneath.
Oh, it is. Okay, okay. Hey, look, I'm learning something.
Yep. And interestingly enough, this car is subframe connected, but Detch actually never connected their cars.
Yeah.
And
they didn't believe in it.
They didn't believe in it. Derek said that it was important to use the natural flex of the unibody to help the car perform, and all their parts were built around that. Now later on, they did do a couple roll cages, and it was very later on. And interestingly enough, it was a hoop around, you know, your normal hoop around the back of your head, and the bars went forward down into the kick panel area and then down towards the floor.
Was that more of an option, or?
It was more of an option, more for the race cars, and I think more for compliance as things, you know, progressed. But that, in effect, would have acted like a chassis connector, right, and stiffened things up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, that's kind of cool though, and I guess it kind of makes sense in a way because they weren't built to be drag cars. You know, they're built to be track cars.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, let's. You know what? Let's hear it crank up.
Sure.
Let it idle a little bit.
It was a Dynamax exhaust on this car when I got it. I was like, I had to go old school.
Yeah.
I was like, I need 2-chamber Flowmasters.
See, even the Canadians know 2-chamber Flowmasters are the best. That's all the rev you get, so we don't get kicked out of my neighborhood. No, she chopped pretty good. Let's hear it. That's quiet. She does good. She does good. H-pipe.
X-pipe.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That might be the best sounding X-pipe I've ever heard.
Right.
because it still sounds a little deep and throaty.
Yep.
All right, so there you go. That is a little bit of an inside story on Detch Coupe, Tip Detch. What is it again?
The Tip Deche Coupe.
There you go.
Yeah.
The Tip Detch Coupe with Chris from the Infamous Project, who, yeah, that's why I had to wear this today. When the guy gives you some free merch, you gotta shout him out. So check him out, subscribe, great guy. It's been awesome, honestly, Chris, having you at Foxtoberfest this whole week. We've had a great time together.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for the hospitality. For anybody who missed Foxtoberfest, highly recommend you get there next year.
Yeah.
And I only had one car this year, but next year, I hope
I think you said 3 maybe, right?
I hope 3. We'll see.
Well, what we'll do is next year, if he doesn't get 3 in, I'll be sure to save this clip and we'll put it in there. Say, what did you do, Chris? You failed. No. No, really, it's been a lot of fun. And actually, one other thing is you did a podcast down here, right?
Yeah.
Some other YouTubers.
Yeah, did do a podcast here with
Fox
Steve.
Resto and Steve from Mustang Owners Museum.
Yeah, we were talking about how we could, as influencers and people with different avenues to connect with, I guess, the next generation, how can we break down some of those barriers at our older traditional car shows and kind of try and get in there, because we want people to all feel welcome, whether it's a Fox specific show or a Ford in general show, you know, and be able to get, I guess, that knowledge from those that are a bit more experienced.
It's one of your responsibilities. Also, one of mine is an influencer. I guess I'm an influencer, yeah. So
You're holding the camera.
that's true. It's true. So I got to claim it. Anyway, yeah, great hangout with him. So I wanted to mention that podcast. Definitely check out the podcast. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it. I had to work that day, but I'll have that link down in the description below. It should be live by the time this video goes up. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. If you want more information on Detch and all the things that Chris will be doing with the Infamous Project, check out his channel again. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you're stopping in for the first time, please subscribe, because I do upload 2 times a week, every Sunday and Wednesday. We'll see you here next time on Gearhead 704. Yeah. Okay, so filming my 10th video for the 4th day, and yeah, just woke up because yeah, I don't get any sleep, especially when this guy, he's like talking about Fox bodies. And anyway, here we go. Here's the exercise. La 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 la. Oh, I think it's the skid up. Okay. He's probably right. Okay, let's get this going. Hello and welcome to Gearheads. Oh man. Okay. All right, I got this next time. Oh my god, dude. Hello. Okay. What's up, guys? Today on the Infamous Project, we are doing all kinds of stuff, including heading on our way to Texas, including more blooper material. Yeah, I need to stick to my format. This doesn't work. Okay.